Okay, in the next 6 or 7 minutes, I'm going to teach you how you can pay the most in taxes on your IRA or 401k. Now you're probably saying, David, why would you teach me to pay the most in taxes? And I'm going to do that because many people just like you, are planning to do just that. They just don't know it. I very often get people that come in with an IRA or a 401k and they say, you know, I hate paying taxes. Not only do I hate writing that check, I hate the fact that that pesky government is getting my money to squander. They usually don't use the word pesky, they use another term, and so their goal is to give the government as little of their money as possible. And usually they do that by delaying how much they give, how long it takes to give money. They delay it as long as possible, and then they give them as little as possible, thinking that will minimize the taxes they'll pay. So let's have a little example to see how that works out, and look at the alternative and see how that works out. So in this example, I have two people. I have George and I have Gracie, okay? Both George and Gracie are 60 years old, they've retired, and they both have an IRA or 401k with $1 million in it. And they both really don't need the money. They have plenty of other money from pension and Social Security and other funds to live off of. Their goal is to probably pass that on to their kids and to their grandkids and minimize the tax on it. Now, we're going to make a couple other assumptions here. We're going to assume they each live from age 60 to age 90, 30 years. We're going to assume that the money that they have grows at 5%, whether it's in the IRA or in another investment, it grows at 5% a year. And we're going to assume that it is taxed at 22%. Whatever comes out, they pay 22% tax on it. So let's take this and look at how this works out. We're going to start with George here. George has his $1 million. He's 60 years old. And at age 60, he doesn't have to take any money out. He's a happy camper. He can let it in there and let it grow. Doesn't have to take any withdrawals. And he can let it grow here from age 60 to age 72. At age 72, something happens. That's a special age. Anybody know what that is? I know some have probably already guessed that at that age, I have to start taking RMDs, or required minimum distributions. I'm going to every year have to take some amount out and pay the taxes on it. At this point, George is not so happy anymore. He doesn't like paying taxes, but it's in this RMD, and each year as it goes along, he's got to take money out and pay the tax. Now, how much tax is he going to have to pay on this as the years go by? Well, what's really neat is we have a report. We have some software that calculates this, given the assumptions, calculates it right down to the dollar. It can be done. And so over these 18 years, he will pay $436,998 in tax alone on the RMDs coming out of his IRA. Now, you got to remember too, when he gets done paying the tax, he's going to have some other money left over. And he doesn't need it, so he's going to invest it. He's going to put it in some investment that, again, earns 5%. So this is an investment, and every year it grows. And of course, because it's not in an IRA, every year he's going to have to pay tax on that 5% that comes out, right? And if you add up the taxes he would pay on it, it comes out to $216,294 in tax alone on the 5% growth on this investment. Now, finally, we come here to age 90. At age 90, George dies, and he has a chunk of money left here in his IRA, and that's the money that's going to go over here to his inheritance. He's going to leave this to his kids and his grandkids. And of course, they're going to pay tax on it, and they're going to pay tax at 22%. And so if we look at the tax on the inheritance, it comes out to $334,055. So we have tax on the RMDs from the money, tax on the interest earned, on the gains on the invested money when it came out of the IRA, and then we have tax on the inheritance. If we add it up, it comes to $987,347,000 in tax that he is going to pay. It's kind of interesting. Remember, he started with $1 million, and he ends up paying almost $1 million in taxes on that original $1 million. Now, over on this side, we have Gracie. Gracie says, man, you know, I want to get these taxes out of the way. I just want to get them out of the way. So she takes her IRA and she converts it to a Roth. You can do that. You can convert existing IRA money to Roth money. You just have to pay the tax up front. You know, you got to get the taxes out of the way. And so she, at 22%, would pay $220,000 in tax right up front. It kind of hurts. But you know, for the next 30 years, the rest of that money, because it's in a Roth, will grow tax-free. And when she leaves it to her kids and grandkids, they'll get it tax-free. So who's the smarter one? Gracie, who paid $220,000 total in taxes on her million, or George, who hated paying taxes to the government but ended up paying almost $1 million in taxes to the government, 4 times more than Gracie. So again, this is an example to kind of what it's meant to really teach you is if you have IRA or 401k money, whether you want to leave it to the kids, whether you want to leave it to your spouse when you die, whether you just want to spend it later in retirement, it very well may pay to have a tax plan, to get some tax diversification, to do the things to minimize the taxes. It often can have as big or bigger an impact as trying to squeeze a little more out of the investments themselves. And this is an example to teach you that. This is part of a series of videos we've done on both retirement, but a lot of them on taxes. If you go to the website rogo.com, R-O-G-O.com, you'll find more of them. Now, 3 quick but important things to finish with. Number 1, this is done with some simplified assumptions. It's not meant to be specific tax advice for your situation. Don't try this at home unless you've conferred with a licensed tax advisor or a licensed financial advisor. 2, you might want a copy of this whiteboard. You might want a copy of this report itself. It's got all kinds of tables and a lot more info than we can go into here. On this page, if you look, you can click and give us your email address, and we'll email you a copy of this. If you would rather have it on paper because you don't want to try to read this on your cell phone, or you're just tired of stuff in your inbox, you can give us your regular address too, and we will we will mail you a paper copy. And 3, this is something part of a series of workshops I've given over the last 10 years at local colleges and universities. And the nice thing about a workshop is people can raise their hand and say, hey, David, what about, here's a question, or what about me, and, things like that. So if you look around on this page, you can find another place where you can essentially raise your hand. It'll take you to a little online calendar. You can book a 15-minute phone call, talk to me about it, and I'll answer your questions. And you might even want a copy of this with your numbers in it instead of these fictitious numbers to get an idea what your situation would look like. Well, I hope this was helpful. And again, go to rogo.com, check out more. Forward this to your friends, neighbors, anywhere in the country. It's good information. People need it. Again, with this pesky virus, we can't have workshops anymore. So I'm trying to people need to know this, so I've moved some of the things online. Hope this helps. It's been fun, and we'll talk to you later.